What was your mom like? Tell me a little bit about her life on the ranch, what she liked doing.
She loved saving animals. She loved caring for and saving animals. And she was the sweetest, most generous person, truly, that you can ever meet. She was always giving so much of herself. The morning she went missing, it was that morning, she had baked cinnamon rolls for her terminally ill friend and neighbor. So she woke up early, baked cinnamon rolls, and delivered them to her good neighbor.
A neighbor did see her Saturday morning.
That's my understanding.
Okay, all right, very good. What was your impression of Keith Harper on that Sunday when you arrived?
He was very shifty, reluctantly speaking, kept stating he had meetings and he couldn't be there. He left the following morning. My impression was not too much of anything one way or the other. I was trying to keep an open mind. I didn't know if Dia had loved him or not, or I'd never met him, I'd never heard his name, I didn't know who he was. So I tried not to judge. It was a stressful situation.
What can you tell me about Keith Harper being her fiance?
It's definitely not the case. I know my mother. She was not going to remarry.
Keith Harper was not her fiance?
I don't believe that to be the case.
Do you believe he was her boyfriend?
I do not believe that to be the case either. I believe at one time they were potentially close. I can't say for sure, I do not know. However, I do not believe at the time she had disappeared that they had that type of relationship.
Okay. Had your mom ever said anything to you about breaking it off with Keith Harper or not enjoying his company anymore or anything like that? Was there any advance warning that this was coming?
I had absolutely no clue that he even existed until after she disappeared. So I can't speak to any of that, frankly.
Well, now that you have had private investigators investigating the case for the last year, what do you think happened to your mom?
I believe she was murdered, and we need to find her for her soul to rest in peace and for the community to heal. I don't believe she's still alive, personally. My mother was a lively, vivacious, gregarious individual, and she would not be able to just intentionally disappear and go somewhere. So I believe she's deceased, and something needs to be done to find her. Thus far, we haven't, and the individuals I believe to be responsible have not even been brought in for questioning. I don't know if that's.
Well, who do you think's responsible?
I really don't want to name names, you know.
Okay. Well, let me back up a little bit. Why did you wait a year to speak out about your mom missing?
We were trying to do it the right way, and we were told, let the investigators do their thing. And if you speak to the media, you could create too much of a firestorm. It could blow up the situation, make it too volatile. And so I was trying to be respectful and allow the proper due course to occur.
Do you think that was a mistake?
I don't think that was a mistake. I think now is exactly the right time, frankly.
Okay. Can you talk about personally your efforts to find your mom? What have you done over the last year?
We hired multiple private investigators, multiple attorneys. We really launched a full throttle effort to find her. Unfortunately, it hasn't yielded the precise results that we intended. I hope that changes very swiftly, and that's the purpose of this interview.
How often are you in contact with Riverside Sheriff?
Very seldomly. I let them, we email, but I let them do their job. You know, that's what they stated at the outset.
Okay. So in some of your court papers that you filed, especially the most recent ones that you and your sister have filed, it points the finger pretty strongly at Keith Harper. And one of the new things that came up in those filings, which are public now, is that she wrote a letter fearing for her life. Can you tell me a little bit more about that?
That stuff I shouldn't comment on, frankly. The legal battle, or I wouldn't call it a battle.
Well, how do you know about this letter, I guess, is my question.
It was found, and somebody brought it to my attention. Most of that stuff the attorneys handle, and we let them handle. And so that particular case, frankly, it's such an emotionally volatile situation. We've hired professionals. I let them deal with those particular issues. I'm not an attorney.
Well, I guess my question is, was this something she wrote right before she went missing, or is this an older letter?
That I have no idea. I have no idea when it was written.
So your mom had valuables at the ranch, a gun collection, I think you, possibly a safety deposit box. Are you concerned that she went missing because whoever, did harm to her was after her property, her valuables, her ranch?
That's what it appears, and that's what I personally believe. The facts are that 2 weeks prior to her disappearance, everything was changed into the name of Keith Harper and Diane Federer. And so it certainly appears that way. However, her stuff, my understanding is her stuff was gone. And Keith Harper at one point mentioned that somebody had burglarized the house and taken some of the guns. I don't know if that's the case or not, but that's what I was told.
Well, what has it been like for you and your sister over the past year?
It's been absolute most nightmarish, difficult, soul-draining experience of our entire lives. There's no question about that.
Do you think that the investigation is going anywhere at this point?
Right now, it seems, from the outside looking in, it appears to have stalled. And that's one of the purposes of this interview, is to hopefully reignite more resources and greater efforts to find her, and to entreat anybody who knows anything to speak up and speak with the investigators, because it's a giant wound for the entire area, for all of our hearts, minds, bodies, and souls. It's a the tumor must be excised. This unknown of where she is, it has to be answered.
What are your concerns now with Keith Harper running the ranch?
Well, I believe it was ill-gotten and with malintention, and my concerns are that her stuff is being pilfered and taken and stolen. I can't say unequivocally whether or not that's the case. I do not know, but that is certainly my concern.
You've seen the trust. Your mom specifically wrote you out of the trust, and it seems that
Sorry for laughing.
she wanted Keith Harper in charge. What's your take on all that?
Can't speak to any of that. I expected 100% that my mother write me out. That was discussed. That's no big thing to me whatsoever. So it doesn't really mean too much to me, that particular matter. That was expected. Whether or not she intended to leave it to Keith Harper or not, I can't speak to that. I don't know what was in her mind at that time.
In the court filings, your attorneys are pushing to get Keith Harper removed from the running of the ranch.
Certainly.
What would you like to see happen right now with the ranch?
Well, I'd like to see the property returned to the family in some capacity. I think that's where it belongs. That's the intention, and that's our goal. Our goal is also to put pressure on the situation in order to get answers. And I believe they're being gotten in multiple ways, and I believe more information is going to be forthcoming.
Do you think your mom didn't want you to have the ranch?
No, I don't think that at all. She always said this is for the kids. Always, 1,000 times over. She said this is for you guys, this is for you guys. Or this is for the family, so.
Would you describe yourself as estranged from your mom?
I wouldn't, no, not at all. Actually, we spoke pretty regularly, and we loved each other very dearly. Our love was so deep and so true that it didn't even need to be spoken, although we said, I love you nonstop. So I would not describe myself as estranged, except maybe the past couple months after my father passed away. But even during any sort of what may appear like tension, my mother always called me and always said, I love you so much, Clinton. Nothing is personal ever. It's from the heart. I love you, I'm much more like my mother, I think, in many ways than my father. And so in many ways I see myself as a reflection of her. And so I understand her, and I understand her emotional reactions, and I understand exactly how such events prior to her disappearance or any sort of potential foul play, I understand exactly how those events would play out in her mind, and I don't derive any sort of offense or anything like that. I know my mother. I know things may appear bad, but everybody was always talking about reconciliation. Everybody was always talking about, how we're going to care for her, how we're going to take care of each other. So there was no, despite what it may appear like, there was only deep love between all of us.
Okay. All right. Well, is it hurtful to read that line in her trust?
No, not at all.
She says, trust her leaves nothing but her love and affection to her son, Clinton.
Yeah, I take that in a positive light, personally. I don't think it was intended to be that way permanently at all. I think it would have all been rectified and good. I think the reason it was signed at that time was more tactical at all than any sort of thing.
Well, what do you want people to know about your mom, people who didn't know her?
I want people to know that she was the kindest, gentlest, soft-hearted person that you can imagine. She was always giving of herself. She always saw the best in people. She was always doing favors for people and always giving so much of herself to the entire community. She was a lover of animals. She's always taking in any animal, anybody or anything that really needed help. She always went out of her way to help.
Do you think that left her willingness or desire to help people could have left her vulnerable to a, quote, con man?
I believe so, because she always saw the best in people, no matter what. And so certainly that is possible. I can't say whether or not Keith Harper is a con man or whether or not that, I only know what, basically, I can only speculate, just really like everybody else. I don't know him. But certainly there are characteristics in my mother that could be susceptible to something like that occurring, just simply because she only saw good in people. She could not, she wouldn't think of anybody badly, and so she could be very trusting. And so that it is certainly possible that something like that could have occurred, that people could take advantage of her. Right.
But can you see people's opinion that both Keith Harper and yourself could both benefit financially from her disappearance?
No, because I never expected to directly receive anything from my mother, to be honest.
She was challenging the prenup and the estate that you and your sister are managing now, and now she's gone, so she can't challenge that.
I wouldn't call it I wouldn't call it any sort of motivation, because we were already winning all of that, to be honest, and none of it was personal. We all loved each other. We've said that on the phone multiple times. We basically had won that battle already. There was no, and I know my mother for my whole life, for 31 years. Nothing surprises me, and I don't take any of it personally. I know her, and we would say all the time how much we loved each other, and I loved her extremely dearly. I loved her so deeply and tenderly, it didn't even take words. And so even if she won or we won, none of that was consequential. It's just money going back and forth. It's happening all the time. Wire money into her account, and we were taking care of her. I took care of her. I supported her for quite some time, and I was happy to do so. And I would tell her all the time, it's all good. We'll take care of you.
And you're in no way in cahoots with Keith Harper in this whole arrangement?
That's a very silly question. I don't know what benefit I would get for that. I didn't know he existed. I never spoke to him until after my mother's disappearance. I had no idea he was even alive. So I've only spoken to him a small handful of times.
What's going to happen if you lose your court battle and Keith Harper gets to run the ranch?
That is far less my concern than finding my mother.
All right, anything else you wanted to mention? Let me ask you real quick. I wanted to ask you.
Yeah.
What is the deal with this truck I know it's in your dad's name and legally you can go get it, but it seems like there was an effort to get the truck before she went missing, and then you went and got it shortly after she went missing. What is the deal with this truck? Why is it necessary for you to go up there and seize the truck?
The truck's not necessary. All that was white noise created by attorneys. We got the truck after the fact in case there was evidence in it, in case it would lead to finding Dia. That was solely our concern, and making sure it wasn't in the possession of anybody with malintent.
Okay. Do you want to talk about what you found in the truck?
I found blood in the truck. I found a bloody pillow. I called homicide. They came and got the truck and did an extensive investigation on it. And then after they were done, it took me a long time to get it because it's an extremely disturbing emotional situation. And so finally they pushed me and they said, you got to get this truck. And so finally I went up there and the truck wouldn't run, and so I spent the whole day with homicide in the forensics lab, not in the forensics lab, but in their parking lot. And we restarted the truck. Finally, the batteries it needed a new battery. We hauled it to this place in, I think it's San Jacinto. So then we fixed the truck and we brought it back here.
This is up in Riverside County.
Yeah, this is in Paris, California, which I guess is Riverside.
Whose blood was it?
I don't know. I have
Did
no
you
idea.
ask them?
Yeah, of course I asked them. They said, we can't tell you anything about that. We can't tell you anything. So my thoughts are really only speculation.
Did you try to get the truck before she went missing?
No, we never made a serious effort to get any truck.
But did you contact her telling her that you wanted that truck?
I never did. This is,
In our interview with Isidro, he seemed to indicate that that may have been the trigger that made her want to cut you guys out of her trust.
I personally feel really bad about that. Nobody was going to ever take her working truck. That's just such a silly thing. All it was attorneys talking to attorneys and just trying to use any leverage point possible. We had multiple conversations. Nobody was taking any truck. Nobody's going to take we were never going to take our mother's working truck, her car. My main thing is I want to find my mother. It's way less about what happens to Keith Harper, way less about what happens to the ranch. That's all material nonsense. In order for my mother's soul to heal, we need to find her, in order for the community to heal. So whatever happens to whoever did this, certainly we want convictions and we want answers. I mean, that's unequivocal. But I'm less concerned with names and properties and such. I really want to find my mother. Dead or alive, wherever she is, that's the most important, and I want her to know how much we love her.